This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free, and it goes to Gibbs wide.
First time we've seen them attack them, and there's Brandon! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robinson do. Taylor one, he scores! And the City ground goes ballistic! Here's Bob Williams. He's through here! And in the end, Forrest will say it doesn't matter how you play as long as you win it. Yeah!
Hello and welcome to this episode of Red Side of the Trent, as we are joined by Antonio Mango, who's basically an under 23 scout and just going to chat to us about our signing Eric de Silva Moreira. I think I pronounced that right. First of all, Antonio, thank you for coming on. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Thank you for having us on. It's
no problem.
To be invited on. How are you two? You're all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Ignoring all the international football, Forest chaos is in full swing again.
Especially when you're watching England, you want to ignore that, don't you?
Yeah, we could do a whole pod about England, but we'll avoid it. Just first of all, I mean, how did you kind of get into doing like the under 23 scouting with the YouTube videos and that?
I've always been interested in, because I like to try and get a mindset of players, and I've always been interested in the mindset of youngsters making that step up to the senior squad, see how their mindset changes, their actions change on the pitch. And then I just thought, I'm just going to start talking about it and scouting them a bit. So yeah, I started writing like threads on Twitter at first. And YouTube's only just recently started over the past 2 weeks. I've made a couple of videos like a couple of years ago, but it didn't really do anything. But I've just started like proper scouting videos over the past couple of weeks, which is going all right, I suppose.
Good. That's good to hear. Obviously, with Moreira, I mean, no one, I'd imagine, in the Forest fan base has probably heard of him or knows much about him at all. So, I mean, first of all, I mean, he hasn't played much at all for St. Pauli, who were obviously promoted last season back to the Bundesliga. So, obviously, with this move coming about, I mean, this has been a bit of a debate amongst us and other Forest fans. Would you expect him to be part of our first team squad, or would you expect him to be more kind of with the B team, then odd cup appearances and maybe on the bench on times? What do you think?
I think the latter, and I'll tell you why. It's not because he's not good enough. It's because I think Forest will try and get him to settle into a new environment.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, if he progressed through the Forest Academy and he was at this stage now, he'd probably be in the first team a lot more than what he would changing clubs and changing country, because you just never know how a young player is going to settle to a new environment. So you just want to bet him in first, and putting him around players his age might benefit him a lot more than just throwing him straight in the deep end. So I do see him part of the first team, but in cup games and making a few appearances on the bench in the Premier League.
I watched your video, Antonio, and obviously there's big scope on him being an attacking player, but also now he's converted into a right back. Where do you see his best position going forward?
Personally, as right back. I think the funny thing is he's never actually played right back for St. Pauli at the youth leagues. He's only ever played right back for Germany. And it's crazy to think, because he's so effective when he plays right back. But I think because he's one of the best players at St. Pauli, they just want to throw him up front sort of thing. And he was big and he used all those attributes. But when he's playing at right back, he just turns into another demon. His stats are ridiculous at right back. Obviously, it comes with weaknesses. Every player does. But to give an example on his versatility, he's played 17 times as a centre forward, 12 times as a right winger, 7 times as a left winger at St. Pauli. And then all of these appearances for Germany under 17s, 18s, and 19s has been a right back. So his versatility just goes to show his in-game intelligence. But the best thing I think about having a player like this so versatile is when he plays right back, he understands the centre forward instincts because he's played there. He understands what his right winger is going to do because he's played there himself. So although it looks like he hasn't cemented a place down, it's actually benefiting him in the long run because he's starting to understand different positions and different types of instincts a lot more. And you can see that when he plays in those positions, that he understands what his right back or his centre forward's going to do almost before they do it. So it gives him that little bit of advantage, I feel.
Well,
Yeah,
go on, Reiss.
Yeah, it'd
I
be
was gonna say,
interesting. It'd be interesting to see where Wood play if he was to break into our first team. That gives us plenty of options.
Going to say it definitely gives you options, even tactically as well. If you wanted to like change into a back three in possession, he could be your right wing back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, because he's played at that winger. And then if you're out of possession, he can tuck in as a right back. So even like in-game tactics, he can affect it that way because of his versatility. So it definitely gives you options now.
What's his main strengths? Is it running with the ball, or is it like out of possession and being pacey, or is he a good crosser? What would you kind of nail him down as his key attributes?
His key attributes, probably his athleticism. He's so athletic and dynamic on the ball. He's got good acceleration, good speed. He's very energetic. But when he's dribbling the ball, what I like of him is how direct he is. He can dribble from deep and eat up the ground with the ball. But he's also got a great cross from all angles. Crossing from deep, crossing from the byline. He's technically very, very good. So I would say those are his best attributes. And he stands at what? I think it's a little over 6 foot. He stands. He's about 6'1", so he's got strength. He's got a good body mass ratio. So he's quite complete when it comes to a profile of a player.
Sounds very much like Jed Spence, doesn't he, Reiss?
It'd be nice to have a regen of him, wouldn't it, Tim? I know obviously he's only 18, so this is a little bit of a harsh question, but what kind of can he going forward? What's his kind of weaknesses, or what could he kind of improve on, really?
Yeah, I would say his weaknesses are sometimes he's a little bit too enthusiastic. So, as I mentioned earlier, he's always ahead of the curve, so he can overhit his passes when his right winger's not in the same wavelength, or he can underhit his passes. So he's quite forceful in how he wants, because he's so direct and wants to get forward every single time. He is quite forceful, and it does result in turnovers. And sometimes under moments of chaos, because when he plays, you can tell he likes to have control of everything. He likes to be in the know of everything, sort of thing. So under moments of chaos, he can be quite tangly, and his foot can be quite flat-footed. So against like speedy, quick dribblers, he can come in at a disadvantage. But I guess that's something you can learn with age. And then finally, he's not very good aerially. He tends to get stuck under the ball or mistimes his jump. And he doesn't use his body and his height to his advantage in the air either.
Do you know, like with his success at the youth level in St. Pauli and then being successful this season of getting promoted, are you quite surprised he didn't break into their first team before this move? Because it's kind of come very much out of the blue. Like, it seems Forest are now starting to adapt a transfer strategy of making our B team and our reserves a lot stronger nowadays. It seems to be a thing that a lot of clubs are targeting. So are you quite surprised he didn't make it at St. Pauli before this move?
Yes and no. I think if he had been at this stage last season, where St. Pauli were like 5th, 4th in the league, battling for that sort of position, he would have broke through a lot smoothly. But because they were top of the league, they didn't want to change what was working. Do you know what I mean? So they had a massive chance of getting promotion. So it's pointless just throwing in a youngster just for the sake of it. So if he had been at this age and this point last season, well, not last season, but the season before, he probably would have made a lot more appearances than he has. But I think it's because they were sitting like second, first in the league all the way through, that they didn't want to just throw in a youngster just to have him in there.
That's a fair point. Again, it's another hard question because like I said, the lad's only 18. But in your opinion, doing this report on him and watching him, I mean, what kind of level do you think he could go to if you had to make a prediction?
Well, I actually compared some of these statistics to Williams, who plays right back for you guys at the minute.
Okay.
And his statistics are overshadowing Williams, and that just shows the potential he's got. So he produces more long balls, he produces more crosses as well as successful crosses. He's having more clearances, tackles, and interceptions per 90. He's having more successful dribbles. He's winning more ground duels, and he's fouling less but getting fouled more than Williams per 90. So I think once he gains that experience and confidence, I think he's going to put you on a different level to what Williams is. Although I think Williams has been great for you, I'm not going to lie. And he's been terrific. Yeah, he really has. But I think those numbers at that sort of age against a Premier League player, it's quite frightening, really.
Are those statistics a little, not, I don't want to say flawed because that's the wrong word, but like because of the comparison of levels where those stats maybe come from youth football compared to Williams at Premier League level? Are you trying to kind of say like once he gets up to speed, he could definitely like reach them sort of numbers? Yes. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is like, if you were to throw him in now, you might just get that little bit of inexperience from him because he hasn't played that top flight football. And that's why I don't think Forest will throw him in. But I'm trying to point out that the potential is there. Do you know what I mean? So if you can get him comfortable in that environment. And I've got no doubt he will be because his father was a Premier League footballer. He's actually cousin of Diego, who moved to Chelsea. So it's his cousin. So he's in that football environment. And if your dad's been a footballer, he's going to give you advice on how to settle, things like that. So I've got no doubt he will settle. But the numbers he was putting at the Under-17s World Cup just go to show there's a lot of potential there.
Hopefully it can be a good player for us. Anything else to ask, Adam?
No, not really. I mean, being a Geordie, Antonio, I'm sure obviously there's been a lot of talk about Elliot Anderson. I just wanted your opinion on it, really. I can't imagine you support any other team from being, up that way, to be
honest. To be honest, I think you're getting a very, what's the word I'm looking for? He's a very good guy. So he'll work hard for the team. He'll go above and beyond for you guys. And you'll always put in the attitude. You'll always put in the work. But will he improve the starting 11? I'm not so sure. I think he'll give you more depth and better quality in depth. But I think when you look at your starting 11, because if you look at his heat map, he tends to work over to that left-hand side. And he played a couple of times as like a wing back in Newcastle as well as a left centre midfielder. But I think you're already good in those positions, if that makes sense. He's not going to replace Callum Hudson-Odoi on the left wing. Or he's not going to replace any centre midfielders. So I think he's good. He's a good squad player, but I can't see him starting week in, week out or being the first name on the team sheet. But he is a very well-rounded, good player.
Interesting. Right. Well, anything else, Adam?
No, that's it from me.
Oh, thank you for coming on, mate. We really appreciate it. All right.
No problem. I really appreciate the invite.
Yeah, no problem, mate. Do you want to do any plugs just before you go for your Twitter page?
Yeah, I've got my Twitter name on just at the bottom there. But if you head over to YouTube, I've just started YouTube, trying to hit that 1,000 subscribers. I'm like 50 off. So it'd be great if you could all check it out, and if you like it, hopefully sub as well.
Yeah. All right, mate. Thank you very much. If we sign any more young under 23 players in the future, we'll be glad to have you back on and chat about them.
There'll definitely be more. That's our profile of player nowadays. So.
Yeah, it seems like the signings are getting younger and younger these days, aren't they? So
absolutely.
I appreciate the invite, guys. Thank
No
you very
worries.
much.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Nice one,
Yeah.
Antonio. Thank you very much. Have a good summer.
You too.
Just to round off then this small pod with the any other business section, we obviously did a pod a few days ago and things have moved on with a few bits and bobs since then, with it being the transfer window now open. So Aaron Mangala has completed his move to Lyon, and that was for a fee of 20 million plus the 10 million loan fee we got in January for him. So 30 million in total, which I think is a really good deal. We wish Aaron all the best. But good business by the club. Moussa Niakate released a statement earlier saying basically his goodbye. So we'd expect that deal to be ratified anytime soon. Again, I like Niakate, but good business by the club in terms of the the profitability. So best of luck to them both. Would you agree with that, Adam? Good business all around for them too.
Yeah, unbelievable, really. Especially like if we're not getting a player in return from Leon, because there's a lot of talk about that online, a lot of murmurings. But I mean,
centre back O'Brien was linked one to see.
Yeah, we're linked to Jake O'Brien, centre half, who's obviously went there from Palace and had a half decent season for Leon, although they were very underwhelming in the French league by their standards. So I don't know much about him to say oh yeah, it'd be a brilliant signing if we were to get him. He's valued at 15 million euros or pounds, I'm not sure. So, but he kind of fits the profile of someone younger. I don't know about yourself, but I think I'd lean towards someone that we need, who's 26, 27, maybe a little bit more established to come in. Because we've already got him Madila, who's a young centre half, really.
The Slovenian centre back who was impressive the other night, he's been linked. I think he's at Udinese.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, so I think I've seen a few people wouldn't mind signing him, so he's probably someone we could,
There's also,
I'm sure there's a plan.
there's someone else at Wolfsburg, I can never pronounce his name. He's
begins with a V.
Lacruz or something, Lacroix. Yeah. I mean, he's always been someone that I think if you're a FIFA or Football Manager kind of person who's always been one of those names who kind of does quite well, but he's got a good reputation playing for Wolfsburg. So maybe he's got 1 year left on his contract and has refused to sign a new deal. So could be someone that a few teams are in the market for, I'd have thought.
I think now, obviously, this PSR deadline's passed, you're going to start to see, the business ramping up. I don't think it's going to get to the levels where it did last summer when it was 2 billion spent in the Premier League, but I think there'll be a lot more business happening now with the Euros and Copa America in the latter stage, and plus teams coming back for pre-season. But so we'll cover as much as we can on when that happens. As we discussed on the last pod, which was pretty much breaking news while I was recording it, Elliot Anderson joined from Newcastle, so fingers crossed he can be a good signing. Obviously Antonio's given his opinion on it. And it also saw Adidius Vlachodimos go to Newcastle. So again, good business to get rid of a third choice keeper, really, who's just not worked out for us, unfortunately. But also good as well to book some PSR profit on that deal. Again, Adam, happy with that business?
Yeah, you've got to be, haven't you? I think Anderson. We had a bit of an argy-bargy on the other day with Christian, because Christian was so adamant that I get his point, and Antonio kind of backed it in terms of he might not improve the first 11, but Christian saying he doesn't improve the squad is, I think, a little bit harsh. I think he does, especially in a few areas.
Definitely.
I think he's better. I think technically he's better than Ryan Yates. So I feel like he improves that area of the pitch. I think what I like about him and what I try to say about him using W2 analytics is his stats were driven from Anderson playing in a central midfield role. Is he can carry the ball. We don't have many midfielders that can really carry the ball that well. So I'm excited to see how he does. He's got a similar stature to what I like and to Ross Barkley. Maybe not the same level of quality, but can Anderson push on a few players? I think yes, and he can fill a few gaps in for us. And I think what Nuno will like about him is that he can play in a few different positions. So it will make his squad smaller in that department. We've got quite a few players like that, which I quite like. I'm not sure about yourself, but Aina and Williams can play either side.
Yeah.
Alanga can play both sides. We've got a few we've got a few versatile players. So he adds to that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I've not seen much of Elliot Anderson at all. Obviously, he scored that goal into that disallowed goal, but it's just sometimes it's just like a player you're not fixated on, is he? When you're watching, say, Forest v Newcastle, you from their team, you're going to look at Isak, you're going to look at Bruno Guimaraes. So I've not seen much of him. I think it's no doubt in my mind he'll improve the squad. Does he improve the first team? Without seeing much of him and where he would play, I can't really answer that question, to be honest, at the minute. So we'll kind of see going forward what happens with him, and hopefully it can be a good signing for us.
The one last thing I will say is we lost Kiate, and I think that's kind of a good replacement in that department. He's a bit younger, he's got legs, and and then I think, like, if these rumours are to be true about Dominguez leaving, it's not all bad. But yeah, I think people need to ignore the 35 million price tag, because that is literally what John said to us on From the True Faith. It's gymnastics. It's a load of nonsense.
Unfortunately, I can't see that being the case. I think if he does well, then you're not going to hear that price tag. You never hear Morgan Gibbs White price tags churned out, don't you? Because he's done well. You look at the prime example, Declan Rice at Arsenal, you don't see that price tag. But when it's a player like Anthony, for example, at Man U, he cost 80 million. Sangara is the one for us. He cost 30 million. And then it always gets money added onto it because of the translation of euros and pounds as well.
You know what's really funny is we mentioned Callum Hudson-Odoi price tag because he's been so good. It's such like a weird how it all works out, doesn't it? Like it just makes you laugh so much, because Ola Aina, we don't like wax lyrical about him because he came for free, and he should get more hype for coming in for free. So yeah, it's funny how football works.
Yeah, we'll have to we'll see what happens with him. Just to wrap up this short pod, we will have another podcast coming out as well with Nathan Joyce, the South American football expert, Forest fan, in the coming days after this one. But yeah, just to wrap this one up, I know it's only a short one, but some sad news yesterday was the last of our 1959 FA Cup winning team, Jeff Whitefoot. He sadly passed away at the age of 90. He was part of the team that was our last FA Cup win against our friends Luton Town. So, I mean, our best wishes go to his family and friends. He represented Forest for nearly 10 years. So, yeah, it's sad that an iconic team before the days of like Clough is all passed away now, but they'll always be held in high regard by the club and that, because for what they did, bringing a major trophy to the club. So, yes, best wishes to his friends and family. That's it then for this episode on Red Side of the Trent. Nice little short one to discuss Eric De Silva Moreira. I'll have to get used to that. Like I said, we'll be back soon with a podcast with Nathan where we go through in depth with all the South American links and players who are at the club. And if any more news comes out in the near future, which I'm sure it will do, then we'll be back with some other content. But until then, thanks for listening, and come on, you Reds.